And good morning from atop the ancient river crossing here at Loswithiel over the River Foy, which actually I'm going to be crossing at some point along South West Coast Bus. You left me and Paul in Penzance. Well, today I'm going to pop down to Redruth and then we'll go down to the Lizard, and from there we'll track on and see what we can see on the South West Coast Bus. Yes, so just like so many South West Coast path walkers do, I'm actually camping in a single place and then popping down further west on the train to retrace my route, probably working my way back to my campsite. Actually, on today's route, if everything goes to plan, I think we'll end up somewhere near Truro, and then it will be a short hop back to Loswithiel station to pick up my car. There's time for a short walk around Redruth before the scheduled arrival of my number 34 bus to the Lizard. And it sneaks into the back of the bus stop, but thankfully it is on time.
£7 there, please. Alright, thank you.
As usual in Cornwall, I give the driver £7, and this will cover all my buses for the whole day. The route of this first ride is roughly southbound through Helston, and then we will get eventually into the Lizard, but after going a bit around the houses. And let's hope this early morning mist begins to lift before we get to the Lizard, or we really aren't going to be seeing very much at all. Well, the first part of the route to Helston is mercifully quite direct and reasonably quick. Then just outside Helston we skirt the large facility of the Royal Naval Air Services at Culdrose. Now, we're going to pass here quite a few times today. At Poldhu Cove, the bus gives us our first intersection with the South West Coast path, as we dip down into the cove and then straight back out again. And then we get a tour of Mullion before we finally rejoin the southbound road for the Lizard. But once we're on the main road, we are just as soon off it and heading out across country to Ruan Minor. And so the road becomes Cornwall small and Cornwall slow as we thread our way along it. But eventually we sneak into the Lizard the back way and pull into the central square, which isn't particularly square. Right, let's head out for the Lizard Point. Right, here we are at the Lizard. Right, so yeah, you couldn't come without hitting the most southerly point here at the Lizard. So just going to walk down here. We've got 1 hour here at Lizard. And it's about 15 minutes walk each way down to the lighthouse. So still plenty of time. May even get a pasty. That 34 bus is one of the wiggliest. It took an hour to do the last 8 miles to the Lizard by wiggling all over all the villages all around. Anyway, let's kick on now. Let's get to this lighthouse. And it's hello to our old friend, the Coast Path. Always nice to see it a few times during the day, isn't it, on South West Coast Bus? And now we're at Britain's most southerly cafe. It's not Britain's most southerly ice cream shop though, because just to the next to it is the ice cream shop. And here I am talking to you into Britain's most southerly GoPro, at least for now. Yeah, it's not bad considering all that rain that was falling before I got on the train and all the rain that was falling earlier on as we were going along in the bus. The weather is pretty good here at the Lizard, and as I'm sure you can hear from the wind noise, it's not that bad. So my plan for the rest of this time at Lizard is to get something to eat and get myself a coffee and pick up that bus, and then we'll pop up back to Helston to continue on our inexorable easterly trip now along the southern edge of Britain. That was great coffee from Anne's Pasties, and of course I do have one of Anne's Pasties. And the reason I bought from here is because my guitar playing mate, Mr. Paul Indersit, who used to play in my band, hence the surname, he said you've got to get one of Anne's Pasties if you're going down to the Lizard. So it's in my bag. I shall eat it a bit later. It's quite a nice place to sit here because the bus stop's just over there, and you can drink your coffee, nice comfy seat, and wait for the bus to turn up. It's another long run to get back to Helston, but luckily we can just skip that bit with a fade out and a fade in. The large gateway to Helston Bowling Green is in fact the Grills Monument, built to honour Humphrey Grills, a man who had kept the local mine open in 1820, protecting 1,200 local jobs. And we're back at Helston. Suddenly twigged as the bus stop was Blue Anchor in Helston. The Blue Anchor in Helston is the home of Spingo beer. Probably time for a swift half at the Blue Anchor, and then we can pick up the 33, which will take us over to Helford and Helford Passage, and that will be our first ferry of the day. Come on then, let's eat this pasty and get a pint, maybe a half. Yes, I decided to pace myself with just a half of the 6.6% Spingo Special. And you can tell we're really in the country now. The bus has become a Mercedes minibus, and is actually remarkably spacious and comfortable. You have the feeling this is a particularly useful community service, as the people in front of me chatted away about local gossip and the issues of the day. And I'm passing Culdrose for now my third time. And whilst I make use of the handy USB charge point, our minibus heads out directly away from my final destination on a mad wiggle to Gunwallow, which of course yields no passengers at all. Still, that technically means I'm now passing Culdrose for the fourth time today. You know, I once had a guided tour of Culdrose and it was a wonderful day out. My niece, who is now a turbine engineer, said it was the best day of a holiday in Cornwall. After Culdrose, there's more lonely bus shelters as we head through Morgan Cross and Morgan. And our intrepid band then has to cross the head of Morgan Creek not once, but twice. Once we've cleared the creek, our driver gives it some gas and the Mercedes labours up Gear Hill. There's a pause at St Martin, but it's not for passengers. We're just waiting for an oncoming vehicle. After Newtown, it's just a short run down to Helford, where I'm deposited at the tourist car park. As we'll see, the village cannot accommodate a bus, even one as small as ours. So we've made it to Helford village, and I need to get over there now to Helford Passage. So let's walk down to the waterfront and see if there's any ferries running. Oh, and look, we're back on the coast path. Well, Helford's put the flags out for us, isn't that great? See, this is the kind of cutesy little place that I would never have discovered if I hadn't have done this daft thing. Very pleased about this. And the weather's picked up. Helford is really beautiful. Next time I'm in Cornwall with my wife, I think we should return here. Well, I'm envious of the people enjoying a jar at the shipwrights, but I'd like to be on the other side of the river before I stop for a sit down. So I thought it would be fun to get the ferry at Helford. But that meant that there's actually only one bus on the other side that leaves at 15:22. So that sort of limited what we were doing here today, because there was one bridge, i.e. this ferry and then the bus, that sort of sets the tone for the whole day. But I think we can all agree it was worth coming to Helford, wasn't it? What fun! Let's just hope this ferry's running. The walk to the ferry really is delightful. Helford is a gem of a place. So I've read the instructions and I've swapped the marker to be orange. It's interesting, there's people waiting for the ferry there that haven't actually set the marker. Well, a single fare is going to be £7, which is what I've paid for all my bus rides today. But I suppose, needs must, the only way to get across there is to pay the ferryman. Oh, and they weren't running up to 2:15, so arriving here just after 2 was very good timing. The ferry's seen my board and I can see it's just set off from the other side. So, yeah, tracking it coming across the river. As the ferry was already coming along, I reset the board back to black for the next passengers, and then I trotted off down to join the family that were already waiting by the water's edge. And then across we go on the first ferry of the day, indeed the first ferry of the whole trip. Oh, and halfway across we pick up someone from a moored boat. They also give their rowing boat a tow. Right, I'm quite relaxed at the moment because I'm on the ferry and I know there's a fairly long wait for the bus on the other side. Mind you, there's also a fairly long walk to the bus stop too. Well, Helford Passage is yet another really cute riverside location. And we're over on the ferry, and the moving the sign over to make it all orange brought him over, and here it worked fine, didn't it? Good system. Can't see that the disc has been moved again since I was there, so nobody's waiting to cross. 15 minutes walk to the bus station. 15 minutes walk to the bus stop, which is up there, and I've got about 45 minutes. So should I have a half before I go? Well, it's probably an excuse to use their toilet, isn't it? So let's have a quick half down here and then leg it up there for the 15:28. Keep going east, I think another video once said. And as they were selling proper job, I succumbed to having a large half. Boy, it's a very steep climb out of Helford Passage. Ah, good, there's a couple of people sat at the turn waiting for the bus. I had a lovely chat with the couple that boarded the bus with me. They were keen South West Coast Path walkers, and they just completed another section and were catching the bus back to where they were parked. As you'd expect with a minibus service, we go down some pretty narrow lanes as we make our way towards Falmouth. The final run into Falmouth is a bit of a zigzag affair, but eventually we reach the streets of this pretty big port town, and in no time I'm deposited pretty close to the quayside. And the quayside is exactly where South West Coast walkers would also appear to catch the ferry, so once again our paths have crossed. So I've made it to Falmouth. So final little ferry hop is the St Mawes ferry. I'm going to hop across and get into St Mawes, and I think I can see the ferry coming now, so yeah, let's hop along and get the ferry to St Mawes. The weather tomorrow is apparently going to be a lot better, but we'll wait and see. This is Britain. The The ferry ride to St Mawes is actually quite long for a cross-river or cross-estuary ferry, as we'll be on the boat for fully 20 minutes. The ride takes us out of the mouth of the Penryn River into the wide mouth of the River Fal itself, before rounding the head at St Mawes Castle, into the Pecule River and the harbour at St Mawes. As we get out into the wide estuary, it certainly gets quite bumpy, but I seem to have packed my sea legs for today. In fact, it's quite fun to be bouncing along at the prow of the boat. St Mawes Castle is a welcoming sight which we pass by until we find a channel in the river to make our final turn towards St Mawes itself. Coming into St Mawes, the departure for Falmouth is heading out the other way, being run by the Enterprise 1. In the summer you can catch a riverboat like that from Falmouth up to Malpass, or even at high tide all the way to Truro. Now my destination today is also Truro, but this is South West Coast bus, not South West Coast boat.
Cheers, mate.
Well, that was fun, and I'm also confident now that all the travel plans for today should fall into place. I've got 45 minutes to wait for my number 50 bus up to Truro, and then it will be just a short train ride back to Lostwithiel to pick up my car and return me to my campsite. Sorry about the audio on the next bit. It sounds like salty spray might have got into the microphone. Well, there we go, St Mawes Ferry. Now we're in St Mawes, so next hop is to get the number 50 bus, I think it is, and that will take me at 17:30 up to Truro, where we'll call it a day. So that really is almost the end of day 5, and then we'll pick up on day 6, won't we? The climb out of St Mawes gives a lovely view of the estuary. And then we have to do a little loop through Gerrans and Portscartho. But eventually the water will reappear on our right, and then we can leave St Mawes properly behind. At Tregonwy, the bus goes up the village main street in order to do a 3-point turn and to then come straight back down again. There's another minor wiggle through Probus, and then we head on towards my last stop of the day at Truro, where I shall be jumping on that train. But I'll be back for day 6, so join me in the next video at St Austell, when we will continue the South West Coast bus.